You're listening to Cooper Talk.
Welcome to Cooper Talk. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, and remember, I'm only as hip as my guest. I gotta tell you something, people. Today in New Jersey, it's hot. But what's funny is people are already bitching. They're going, oh my God, it's so hot. And I'm thinking, people, it's summer. It's supposed to be hot. The same people bitch if it was 78. They'd say it's too cool. So I just think everyone likes to bitch about the weather. For me, I'm just glad it's sunny. Anyway, we have a great show today. We have a gentleman who he's been in the limelight for a long time, and he's a lead singer of a great band called Modern English. And my guest is Robbie Grey. How you doing, Robbie?
I'm doing fine, thanks, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm sitting over here. Now, how's the weather in England right now?
It's really warm. It's lovely. It's a proper summer's day. It's been sunny for about the last week. It's not something we see too much of, so it's enjoyable.
Exactly. So your band, I know you're going on tour again. Now, when did you start singing? What got you into the music business? Were you always a good singer?
No, I'm still not really. No, I mean, punk rock's what got me into the music business. When I was a young teenager, bands like the Sex Pistols and the Clash, they kind of woke everybody up in England, and that's when I started making music with my friends. So it goes back to about 1976, something like that.
Now, what was it like being a teen and living during the punk scene? It must have been a great feeling, but because you were on the edge of something new.
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, looking back at it now, it's even more amazing, really. I mean, you know, Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister. Reagan, I think, was your president at the time, and England was in turmoil, really. There was a lot of strikes going on and things like that, so it brought out this energy from the youth that spawned all this music. Very exciting, very, very exciting. There's lots of bands popping up every week. All of a sudden you had thousands of bands, you name them, they're all playing still now. The Cure, Joy Division were there, New Order now, Echo and the Bunnymen, Teardrop Explosion, all the bands that came out of the punk rock explosion, are still around, so it's a very important time.
Now, you were in a band called The Lepers, I believe?
Yeah, we were when we started, yeah.
Now, were you playing hardcore punk, or what were you guys playing at the time, and what direction did you want to go in?
Well, it was all, at that time it was punk rock, and we weren't very good on our instruments, so it was like we were learning to play, and I was learning to, use the microphone and write lyrics, so it was more of an experimental time. It was really the post-punk scene where we blossomed. We started to, learn our instruments more, and Gary the guitarist got effects pedals, and Steve got a few more keyboards, and the sound, that you will remember from Joy Division back in the day, and Gang of Four, and all these different bands, that was our sound. That's where we were coming through at the same time. So punk rock started us, but our real sort of expansion was the post-punk sound.
What was it like being a lead singer in a punk band? Because I know I talked to Sherry Curry of the Runaways yesterday. She said when they played over, people would spit on them, and it was just insane.
Yeah.
What was going on with you? I mean, and what kept you going? I mean, if most people would be spit on them, they're going, screw this.
No, we just spat back. No, I mean, it was just part of the fashion of the time. I mean, everyone was wearing ripped up clothes and safety pins in their noses and their ears and everything like that. So there was sort of antisocial behaviour was the order of the day, and the spitting just sort of added to that. I remember, playing with a band called the Undertones in Norwich, a city here in England, and I was absolutely covered in the stuff. It was all hanging off my nose and my ears. In fact, Joe Strummer of the Clash, he got ill from some spit that hit him on the face. He actually got ill from it.
So, I mean, it must have been crazy. I mean, what made you want to get back on stage? Just because you love the music?
Oh, yeah. You mean, not going to let a bit of spit get in the way, are you? I mean, there was so much going on at the time that the spitting was like just a side, little side kind of stall of it all. The music was the most important, and the energy that was in the country was pretty amazing, really. When looking back now, it's even more amazing to think about it.
Now, when do you decide you want to get a record deal? Or did it just fall in your lap? What was the process of that happening?
Well, it was just such an exciting time. So as a band, we kind of put a couple of pounds in each to go go into a studio and do a demo. And I'll tell you how long ago that was now. The men in the studio were wearing white coats. They were like lab technicians. So it's quite interesting for us as a sort of little post-punk band to be, being recorded by these guys. But it worked really well. The demo was good. And we sent it off to a lot of different record companies. We got a lot of refusals. But Beggar's Banquet, which became 4AD, was a record company that showed some interest. So, we went to meet them after just doing the demo, and they offered us a deal.
Now, these days, it's so easy to, you can record in your house, and you can record here. When you went in there, how long was the studio time? Did they give you a time frame saying, we need this album at this time? Because I know a lot of people take their time now because they have the convenience and it's not as expensive.
Yeah, well, they haven't got the pressure of a record company that need to have a product, have they? Which is a good thing, really. They can put music out when and if they want to. Back then, you signed a contract, you had to have a record out every year. That's what the contract said. You might get an advance, you might not. They could give you some money for a wage every week, which they deducted from your royalties. There was lots of ways of doing it, but we were lucky at... Oh, blimey, the phone's ringing, hold on. We were lucky with our record company that, they didn't really give us any pressure. They just gave us the time to do what we wanted, to rehearse. They paid for rehearsals. And when we did the album, the first album, Mesh and Lace, Ivo, Watts Russell, who ran the record company, we were only in there for 2 weeks. It was a very quick album, but we'd had a lot of time before to write the song, so there wasn't really a lot of pressure on 4AD. It was a good record company.
Now, were you happy with the results in your first album when you recorded it?
It's my favourite album. Yeah, it's my favourite album because it's just all us. It's quite noisy. I'm doing a lot of shouting on it, but it's an exciting album. We were quite artistic at that point. We were, rattling film cans and using lots of feedback and shouting and screaming. It was good. It's my favourite album. But then, of course, you move on to After the Snow, which is more, the crafted songwriting album which Hugh Jones produced. That's most people's... Well, that's the one that sold the most. That's, gone platinum just recently, actually.
Now, how did you come up with the name Modern English?
Well, it's funny you should mention that because I think Marianne Faithfull had an album out called Broken English at the time. And we were kind of chucking names around and we were thinking about that name. I think somebody actually went on to use her. But we can't use that. That's her album title. And then the drummer, Richard Brown, thought of it. He just said, what about Modern English? And it seemed to fit with what was happening in England at the time, the music that was happening, the kind of political state of the country. It seemed to fit really well what we were doing. So we said yes to that.
So the first album you get done, it's your favorite. How was the response of the people?
Well, it sold, physical sales were 20,000. If you were to sell that now, you'd be number one in the hit parade. It did really well. Music back then, people went to record stores, they liked the artwork, they wanted to see the artwork and touch the vinyl, and they wanted to go and listen to it in a booth before they bought it. It was a well-received album. It was compared quite heavily to Joy Division because it was stark, I suppose. I know it's one of the LCD Sound System, James Murphy, he really likes the album, the guy from LCD Sound System. And it's my favourite, definitely.
Now, your next album, how did you started changing your sound a little bit?
That was the producer, really. He said, look, we didn't want to make the same album again. We didn't want to do another noisy sort of post-punk album. So he helped us craft the songs, stopped me shouting into the microphone a bit more, turned the effects off the guitar a little bit, got the drummer to quieten down. And, we crafted the songs more. That was all to do with Hugh Jones, the producer. He'd done Heaven Up Here by Echo and the Bunnymen and lots of music at that time. And he had a lot to do with the craft of that album, the songwriting side of it.
Now, as you're recording again, are you out there performing? Are you playing a lot of dates?
You mean now?
No, back then.
Oh, back then, yeah. Oh, yeah, we were, professional musicians. We have been all of our lives, really, except for taking a few years off early 2000s, but no, we've always been playing and writing, and it's what we do. We creative musicians. You know, luckily I Melt With You, that song has helped us financially. Really, really, really has helped a lot. So we're able to do what we like musically. And we did an album in 2017 called Take Me to the Trees, which, you know, we got back to our roots with more of a sort of angular sound, but trying to have the sort of post-punk influences and Mesh and Lace, but with the songwriting craft of After the Snow. That was well received. Not too many sales. We did it with Pledge Music, which is like a crowdfunding site. But it was good. We've enjoyed doing that. We got the artwork done by the guy who done all the album artwork for 4AD, Vaughan Oliver. He'd done all the artwork for Mesh and Lace and After the Snow and Ricochet Days. So we managed to get it was all the original members of the band except for the drummer. We couldn't get him to do it. And it was great fun, and we're still writing now. We've been, you know, the original band's been back together now for about 8 years.
Now, when you recorded that album, how did you feel you grew as a musician? I mean, you had to bring more to the table because life lessons and stuff like that. How did you guys sync and grow when it came to the whole writing process and making a album that you'll be happy with?
Well, it was a real learning curve with the producer Hugh Jones. After the Snow was to go from Mesh and Lace, which was noisy, you know, very sort of electric album, to go to Melt With You and After the Snow and songs like this on After the Snow, the album, was totally different. We had to really think about what we were doing. I had to stop. I mean, Hugh Jones, I mean, a great story about I Melt With You is the fact that Hugh Jones just said to me, talk into the microphone, just talking, you know, he's trying to show me a way of, you know, not thinking I needed to shout at the top of my voice to get my point across. And that I think that's why I Melt With You's got that, on the verses, it's got a very talkative sort of feel to it. And I think it really works. It's the first vocal I did on After the Snow, I Melt With You, so it's got a special feel to it, I think.
Well, yeah, and it's such a great song, and it's so known. When, after you recorded it, when did you feel that it was starting to take off?
Well, it started to take off before we'd even left England. You know, I mean, what was happening with I Melt With You was there's a 12-inch version that was out that was being sold on import and being played on import on American major radio stations before it was even released. So it was a real first time for that. I mean, we were getting phone calls. This was before mobile phones.
Right.
We were getting phone calls from people saying, you know, that all the major radio stations are playing it, and we didn't even have a release in America. So it was really an exciting time for us. Then all the major labels in America wanted to sign us because of that. And we ended up signed to Sire Records with Seymour Stein. And that started a whole career for us in America, really.
So you come over to America. Now, when do you shoot the video? And you know, what went into you? Was your idea for the video, or it was their idea, or how did you come up with the video?
Well, the video cost $1,000 to make. And I remember we carried in the props. You know, it was just let's just go into this room, play the song live, have a couple of dancers dancing, and see what happens.
Now,
We did it, you know, it was so cheaply made. There was more questions asked about the fact that the dancer was a black guy than anything else. Back then, I mean, even back then in the 80s, there was still the interracial thing was still quite strange. And the black guy was dancing with a white girl. And the most questions we ever get asked about is that on that video.
that's just crazy, you know, how times have changed. But even now, I mean, you sit there and when you see a mixed couple on a TV commercial, you know, in America, there are some people that get outraged, and it's like, that's life, you know, deal with it.
Yeah, this is the modern world, as the champ said.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the song becomes big. MTV, it's playing it all the time. Your band is really getting popular. When you come to America, what's your game plan?
Well, we had management by then who was serious. Side One management out of New York. They were serious guys. In fact, one of those guys is still managing us now, a guy called Josh Seaman. He's our manager now, and he was kind of like the younger guy in the management company back in the 80s. They had a really good plan. They got us out on the road and they just whipped us till we didn't... we did like 80 concerts in 100 days one tour. Every time we would start somewhere, like say we started in New York, we'd go all the way around the country, and by the time we came back, we'd play New York again. All the shows were selling out, so you know, it was hard work. The management company had us working very hard.
So you're touring the U.S., the show that's getting popular now. Are you getting recognized because everyone watched MTV? I know I watched MTV back then. We had it on religiously. Were you starting to get recognized?
Yeah, definitely. I remember sitting in a restaurant in Italy, having some pasta or something in the restaurant, and this big guy started walking towards me, and I thought he was going to punch me. And he just came out and said, I see you guys on MTV. I've seen you guys on MTV, you know. I mean, that was happening a lot. There was lots of girls around, which was great. You know, there was lots of fans. I mean, every concert was packed to the rafters. They were exciting times for us.
Now, when you played on the road back then, when would you put in the song? I mean, because everyone knew it, and it's a matter of it has to be strategically placed, I'm guessing.
Yeah, these days we put it last. You know, because we figure everyone will stay around to listen to it. But back then we didn't, I can't really honestly tell you that, but I think we used to play like fifth in the set or something. So it wasn't at the end of the set, but I do remember a long time ago we flew over and we played Spring Break in Florida, and we'd never played America before. And the guy said, you can play outside, you know, on a pontoon outside by the sea. There'll be 10,000 people there. Or you can play in this big room downstairs, and there'll be 5,000 people in there. And we'd never played outdoors before. We were a little underground band in England, you know. So we wanted to play indoors. And I'll never forget it, because when we played that song that night, the whole room was singing it. I mean, everyone was singing the words, so I melt with you. I mean, you know, it's amazing, and it's been like that ever since.
Well,
you know, we're coming to your neck of the woods. When is it? We're coming there. We're coming to New Jersey, and we're playing the Asbury Lanes, Asbury Park.
Right, and I'm close. I'm closer to the place. Sorry.
August the 29th, we're playing there.
Yeah, and I'm closer to you're playing the Keswick Theater on August 31st, because I'm closer to Philly.
Yeah, so there's going to be, the same thing will be happening at those concerts. Everyone will sing the words. So we put that last, because everyone goes nuts before I melt with you.
Well, as the song is getting big, it ends up in Valley Girl. Now, Valley Girl was a sort of a cult movie. I mean, it got a bigger following as it was going and started hitting cable. When something that happened, did you notice record sales go up?
Honestly, we were in a bus just going round and round and round. The bus had a bar on it, beds on it, a front room with a TV on it. And we stopped somewhere one day and somebody brought remember VHS tape? Yeah. Somebody brought a VHS tape in of the film and said, look, let's watch this. Your song's in this film 3 times, and they play it all the way through in the middle, sort of when they're falling in love scene. I don't know if it helped the record sales at the time, I'm not sure. I know it came out on the soundtrack later on, but After the Snow was already selling at that point about 10,000 units a day. Yeah. So, it was doing pretty well.
Now, you have that huge success. Now, what happens when you go back in the studio? You have to be exhausted because you've been touring a lot, but I'm sure the record company wanted to capitalize on the studio.
It was terrible. We had no songs because they kept us on the road for so long. We didn't have any songs written. Maybe we had 2-3 songs written. We didn't have an album. I mean, these days you don't have to put an album out. You can just put songs out. But back then it was always 8, 10, 12 tracks for an album, We didn't have that. So we were writing with the same producer, Hugh Jones. He was trying to make a more musical album as well. So the kind of immediateness of After the Snow, there's not a lot of overdubs in After the Snow, believe it or not. But on Ricochet Days, which was the next album, there's lots of music on it. It was a bit too involved, that album, really. Hence the didn't do as well as After the Snow. The single Hands Across the Sea did pretty well, but nothing after the Snow, nothing really touched that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, now how does that make you feel as an artist? You know, you sit there and it's, you know, I Melt With You sells so many, but, you know, you probably wanted to go, as you said, this was more musical. You probably wanted to go in a different direction. You know, how do you decide what you're going to do after such a huge hit?
Well, you just do what you think's right. You don't, you know, one thing I learned is you can't just write another song that's like I Melt With You. You know, you can't say, let's write another I Melt With You. It just doesn't work. You can't do that. So what you do is you follow your heart, you follow your mind, you follow your creative side, you know, and just do what you want. As long as you've got the money, which luckily I Melt With You gave us, so we could do what we, you know, from that moment onwards, we could write pretty much what we wanted to do, which is what we do now. We're more back to our roots than ever, I think, now. So that's good. You know, I don't know, you know, we come from a post-punk period. We learned how to, you know, make really good songs, and we learned how to play our instruments, and we're still like that, and that's good for us. I think that's a good period for us to be in, a good place to be in as well.
Now, what made you guys originally break up?
The pressure of all the work, the touring. It was just so, you know, you probably hear this from, you know, artists that come on your show a lot. Oh, just too much work. We couldn't do it. We were just exhausted. And people started falling out with each other. We'd all been friends since we were kids. We started falling out with each other, and it was terrible, really. And the keyboard player and the drummer got sacked for a little while, and I was all mad. So we just couldn't go on, really.
Well, you know what's amazing that you said about, you know, a lot of guys tell me that. I think that the record companies would notice that and do something to stop that, at least back then.
They don't care. They haven't got a clue. I mean, most record company people aren't musicians, they're businessmen. I mean, you know, back then, even more so, they're, you know, they're people who love music and may even be, you know, musical. But back then, you know, they didn't care. All they saw was units, you know, dollar signs in their eyes. They're greedy. You know, if they'd have just toured us for 6 months and given us time to write a new album, we probably would have been able to do another After the Snow, or, you know, have as big a hit as I Melt With You, but we weren't given that time. So, you know, it's their own fault, really.
Now, after you broke up, did you guys still talk because you were friends, or were you really at odds because just the touring and everything was just hard on you?
Oh, everyone just went in different directions. I went to university to study an English literature degree to help me with my writing and stuff. Gary, the guitarist, went to live in Thailand. Steve got married, the keyboard player. Everyone had different stories, you know. Mick joined another band, the bass player, Mick Conroy. So it was for a long while until we got back together. And it was Mick Conroy, the bass player, it's his fault that we got back together.
What was it?
He sent me a picture of his boat where he's living. This was about 10 years ago. And it was literally 10 minutes from where my home is. And he didn't know that, and I didn't know that. So, of course, we met up. And he said, how about getting the band back together? And that was that.
Now, what was it like when you went to university? Did people know who you were? Did you get mobbed? Probably every girl was...
In England's a different... We were an underground band in England. You know, there'd be a few people who might know the band, but not... We weren't a commercial success like in America. We were more like an artistic, creative band in England. So when I went to university, I was at university at the same time as Sinead O'Connor. Okay. And everybody knew who she was, but nobody knew who I was.
Now, why do you think you didn't get the commercial success in UK like you did in America?
No idea. I think the After the Snow album, it had a sort of pastoral, orchestral sound or something like that, you know? And I don't think the British public really wanted to hear that at the time. I think they preferred, you know, the Mesh and Lace album, the more angular sound, the more edgy music, I think, really. I know with you, it's still very popular here. I mean, we still go on the radio and we do concerts in London and things like that, but not as much as America.
Now, you guys got back together in '89 and recorded Pillow Lips. What direction were you going in that when you recorded it?
We were sort of in between stalls, really, because what was happening in Europe was the dance music thing was taking over. You know, the idea of sampling and using found sounds. You know, the rock thing was sort of not happening in England at that time. It was more like it's hard to explain it. Pillow Lips was a bit of a disaster, really, I think. The only thing that came out of that was re-recording I Melt With You, which worked really well, actually, because it got higher in the charts the second time round than the first time. But the rest of the album, there's nothing much to write home about there. I think we've got Mesh and Lace, After the Snow, and then you can kind of take a hiatus till you get to our last album, Take Me to the Trees. And they're the best three albums, I think, by modern English.
Now, when it was a disaster, as you said. Now, didn't you go to form another band called Engine?
The Help Engine.
Okay, how'd that happen?
Yeah, I did.
How'd that happen? What happened? Because you still want to be a musician, but I think you had some problems with TVT Records, I think, and then did you just leave before then or after then?
No, I just got fed up with it and started. I wanted to get back to my roots, you know, start playing pubs and, you know, get back to hearing nasty guitar sounds and loud music, and that's what I did. I went and did the Help Engine for a few years. I worked actually for MTV in London. I was a VJ, overnight VJ for MTV for a while in Europe. I bought a house in Thailand. I've got a house in Thailand now, which I go to in the winter. And then Mick Conroy, the bass player, decided that we might get the band back together, and we all did. We contacted Gary, who was living in Thailand, and everybody wanted to do it, so we did.
Do you think that's because it's been a long time, and as you said, you guys were childhood friends, and you know that you had some success, but you had problems with the record company, and when we're younger, we don't always make the right decisions. Do you think that helped a lot now that you guys got back together, that you're all really in your head space where you know who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we did the first rehearsal, it was like, you know, water off a duck's back. It was very, very easy. We got on really well. The music was coming together straight away. It just seemed very natural, really. And yeah, we all got longer in the teeth, you know, so we understood each other a bit more. We're under no pressure because we've got money. So, you know, it wasn't too difficult to think about doing another record, writing some songs, doing some gigs, and we've done a lot in the last 8 years. We've done a lot of stuff in America. We've been on cruises, you know, out of the Caribbean. We played in the Philippines, been all over Europe. We played London a lot of times. We've made our new album, which we wanted to do, Take Me to the Trees, in 2017. We've done a lot, and we're not ready to finish yet, I don't think.
Well, you know, and that's awesome, because you guys, you know, you have a relationship with each other. But now, from like 98 to 2002, you travel with a new lineup, I believe. How do you do that? How do you find guys that you trust on stage? Because you guys your original band had a camaraderie.
I just got mates, really. I just got people I knew to come and play with me. And that was a time of me not knowing what the hell I was doing, really. I just used to tour with these people, play modern English songs, and that was it. But it wasn't like the original band. It's not like it. That wasn't like it is now. This is the true band, and it does make a big difference. You know, it's pretty obvious that you can't have people just standing in for other people. It doesn't really work.
Now, you said you were contacted. Your friend was living on a boat. And was it easy to get back in sync, to get the band together, or was there some hard spots because, you know, you guys had all gone your own ways?
The hard spot was the drummer, Richard Brown. We wanted to get him back in, so it was the whole band. But it was difficult. He couldn't do it, really. I mean, he was such an he's more like a John Bonham, Keith Moon type drummer. He was very energetic, and I think he just got a bit old for that. And when we were rehearsing it just didn't work. So that was a problem, because we did want to have the whole band there. So we had to go back and get a guy called Roy Martin, who we've been working with for years before, and he's with us a lot now from Liverpool, Roy Martin.
Now, when you went back on that tour in, I believe, 2010 with everyone except the drummer, how did management come to clubs? I mean, how did they say modern English is back? Because, luckily for, in America, there's been a big swing in the last 15 years of how 80s stuff is coming back, whether it be movies, music, or TV. Were you an easy band to pitch then?
Yeah, I mean, in England, definitely, because the record label 4AD, which we were on, it was home to a lot of underground bands, the Cocteau Twins, the Birthday Party, Nick Cave, all these sort of bands. So it had a kind of kudos to it. So when we do concerts, we get people who were really into that label. So, the band was known from back in the day. People liked the fact it was almost like a heritage act, like a vintage band that meant something to them. So it wasn't difficult. We'd play to 300 or 400 people in London, play the 100 Club, the famous 100 Club. It wasn't difficult. Then we go and do the same thing in Paris or in wherever in Europe, in Amsterdam, Brussels. We do festivals in Europe as well. I mean, we are a known band, but not like in America where it's a commercial success.
Now, with the new lineup, who does most of the writing? I mean, not the old lineup, back with the new, like your latest album. Who did most of the writing, or was it a collaborative?
On the last album, Take Me to the Trees, Mick Connery, the bass player, put a lot of the kind of bedding of the songs together. Some of the arrangements, some of the chords, and I'd put vocals on it, and Steve, the keyboard player, would tinkle along, and then we change bits at rehearsals. Gary would put his crazy guitar sounds on top. I mean, it's generally we all split everything, one quarter each out of the four people. So even if somebody, like I do the lyrics to everything, but it's generally pretty much an even split.
Now, where do you get your lyrics from? Do you look at your past life? Do you just hear something? Do you see something you think would be great to write about? Where do you personally get your lyrics from in your songwriting process?
The lyrics for me they're just like poetry, really. Where do I get them from? I'm still mining the same areas I've always done, really. Sort of angry. I can get angry about everything quite easily. Love's really important. I don't know where I get it from, is the answer. But I do like to read, different poets, and I do like to read lots of books and, take in a lot of imagery. A lot of my lyrics are, imagery-based and metaphor-based as well. I don't know where I get it from. Just living, I think.
Now, who are some of your favorite poets?
I like Charles Bukowski.
Everyone knows Bukowski's great. That's one of the things, his books are great. His poems are great. And it's funny, when I lived in LA for a long time, like, people would go, oh, that's the bar Bukowski used to drink at. So of course the bar would get busy, and they're thinking, it was a big thing.
I like his attitude. He's a bit of a bastard, really, but I like his attitude. I like the way he talks about, writes about things. He's got a bit of an edge to him, which I think is good. I like Marquis Smith from The Fall. They're a band that used to write some amazing lyrics. Shelley, poetry. I mean, there's Sylvia Plath from The Women. I mean, amazing stuff. There's a new band called Fontaine's DC. They come out of Dublin in Ireland. They're really good. And they write a lot of James Joyce type, abstract lyrics. That's really good. I mean, there's so much stuff out there, but I don't know where I get them from, is the answer, my words.
Now, do you make a conscious effort these days to listen to new bands, or do you sit there and listen to the classics? I mean, as a music listener, seeing that you are a musician and you had success, what do you like to listen to, and where do you find it?
Do you know, I don't listen to much music. I really don't. I'll listen to Bach. I'll get a classical radio station up that's, just Bach all the way, and I'll listen to that. And I'll occasionally go onto my YouTube feed, which sends me stuff they think I'm going to like. And that's where I'll find things like Fontaine's DC, who I do really like. But most of the stuff they send me, I'm not interested in it. I've heard it all before.
Right. Now, when you recorded Take Me to the Trees, how have you noticed that the record company the record business has changed? Is it easier to put an album together now than it was years ago? Because you can do a lot more production value for lower money. How have you see it change?
It's massive change. The change is unbelievable. I mean, it's great if it's all you've ever known. If all you've ever known is sitting in your bedroom with a Logic program and making music, which is what we do now as well to write with, then it's brilliant. But it's such a shame that the new bands don't have the chance to grow, really. It seems like you have to be an instant success these days, really, really fast. Otherwise, you're gone in 5 minutes, not 15. It used to be that, you got 15 minutes, didn't you? But now it's more like 2.5.
Right. Now,
I don't know. It's just, I think the fact that you have to do crowdfunding these days, which is what most people do, and you have to sell yourself, and you have to do all the social media stuff like Facebook and Twitter and everything like that. It's not anything I'm involved in, really. Mick Conroy, again, our bass player, does all of that, and it's really important. So if you've got no interest in that, then it's very difficult to be in a band these days. So you're almost like a cottage industry. You do everything. You don't just write the songs and the words. You do absolutely everything. So it's a massive difference between being on a record company and putting your own music out.
Now, what role do you think videos and MTV took on your guys' career? Do you think if that hadn't been around at the time, because no one really watches videos as much anymore, do you think you still would have done well in the U.S., or what do you think would have happened to you guys?
I don't know about that, because it was so important, wasn't it, MTV? I remember, that video that cost us about $1,000 to make, it got played on rotation heavily, all the time, and I suppose people get to look at your image and like what they see or not like what they see. I don't really know is the answer, but it was so important, MTV. I think without MTV, I don't know whether we would have been as important.
Now, your song also shows up in different commercials. Do you guys all have to get together and okay that, or do advertising agencies come to you, or does a company come to you? How does that work?
Well, we've been on Universal Publishing up until last year. So they would just sell it to whoever they wanted to. They didn't really have to ask us, but they would. They'd always ask us. I mean, we didn't say no to anything. I mean, we didn't say no to anything really. Nothing we could genuinely feel bad about. But now we've got our first couple of albums back. We've just got our rights back to all our music. So it's interesting times for us at the moment.
Now, what happened? I mean, how do you get your rights back?
After 35 years, they come back to you.
Isn't that insane? We think about it. I always say, God, I'm getting older, but you think 35 years ago, and now you get it back. It's like, holy crap. It's like, because I was saying Purple Rain was released yesterday, 35 years ago, and I'm going, oh my God, it seems like it was yesterday.
It's crazy, isn't it? The way the time just goes by. I mean, it scares me to death that 1 minute is January, the next minute is the next January, and everything goes so fast.
Now, you're going on tour, and it's a great show. It's got Jay Assenstein loves Jezebel, you, and The Alarm. Do you know those guys? Did you know those guys? Is that why you're playing together, or did a booking agent do it? Because it is a great show.
No, we put that together. Mike Peters wanted us to do it, so he contacted us, and when we found out Jay Assenstein of Jezebel was doing it as well, we just thought, definitely, this could be really good fun, We could, it could be a really good show with those three bands from that time. And Mike's a really nice guy, Mike Peters. So we had a few email exchanges. Mick Conroy, because I was in Thailand at the time, Mick Conroy, the bass player, went to see Mike in London with his wife, and he came back, saying we should do it, because he just really liked Mike. So we're doing it. It's going to be really good fun. I'm really looking forward to it. It's a long tour for us. We haven't toured we haven't done 35 concerts in a tour in a long time, so it's going to be hard work.
Now, what can people expect? I mean, because you have years of history. What can people expect to hear when they go to that concert? And will you do some more of the harder, younger stuff that just a different listening, so people maybe hear something they haven't heard before?
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, we'll be doing, for the first song on stage on that tour will be a song called Swans on Glass, which is the first single from 4AD, which is a very, very noisy post-punk track. And then the last track we'll play will be I'll Melt With You, and in between there'll be songs from Mesh and Lace, After the Snow, Ricochet Days, and our last album, Take Me to the Trees, as well as early 4AD singles, so it's a real mixture.
Now, will you mix it up on different nights, just knowing you have your opener and your closer, or do you pretty much keep to the same set just because, it's probably easier that way?
Well, we work hard on making sure the set works, that the energy's at the start, and it's a bit quieter in places. We probably won't change the set that much, but we've got a new song as well that we're working on called Not My Leader, which we're hoping to release this year for Record Store Day. So we're going to try and fit that in the set as well if we can.
Now, what was your inspiration for Not My Leader, and what made you want to record a new song?
Politics, basically. I mean, your side of the pond and our side of the pond are in real trouble at the moment.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, it's absolutely... I didn't think it could get any worse than Thatcher and Reagan, but it has. So...
What's it like? What's it like going back into the studio to record something new? Because you did a while ago. You did in 2016, but now, do you want to sit there and record that and then think we're going to record a whole album?
No, you not really. I mean, this week, for instance, I've written 2 new songs, or Nick sent me some music that the band sort of did a rehearsal with, and I've just bashed some vocals down quickly, and then another song. I've done at home all the music myself and the words myself, so it's all very different. So it's not like the old days when you go into a rehearsal room and you just jam and it all comes out like that. It comes out in bits and bobs these days when you've got time to work at home on your own. So we tend to do songs one at a time. If we were going to do a new album, we'd probably write a load of songs all in one go, but you don't really need to do albums these days. You can do one song at a time, or you can do 3 or 4 songs or whatever. It doesn't have to be an album, because there isn't really any such thing as artwork on the size. I mean, vinyl's really popular again, but you don't need to do albums.
Now, do you miss that? Because that's one thing as a kid for me. When you got your album, you wanted every song to be good. You knew the lineup. You knew what was going to play, and it was a special. And as you said, also the artwork. I mean, that was one of the things. If someone had lyrics in the album, you were going, "Holy crap, they have lyrics!" I can read through the songs. Do you miss that as a performer? The concept of a album and just the whole background to it, and just that it was culturally, meant a lot.
Yeah, I do. I think it's crazy and stupid and ridiculous and really sad. You just go, it fits in with everything else that's kind of going on in modern society, really. It's just a throwaway. Everything's throwaway. So, unfortunately, music is as well to a lot of people. I think it's really sad, that people don't take a whole concept of something on, and everything's just like really marginalised, and your brains are really small, and you don't think outside the box. I think it's really good when you get an album, because you look at it as a whole entity, not just 1, 2 minute, 3 minute thing.
Now, you're coming to the States. What are some of you from the past and lately, because you said you've been on the road, what are some of your favorite cities to play? Do you have any cities that you look really excited to be in, just because, whether it be food or the culture, what do you look forward to when you come? And I know 35 dates, you're not going to have a lot of time, but any cities you're looking forward to seeing?
God, I've seen so much of America so many times. I like Austin, Texas, which is where we start, 'cause that's a good music town, and that's where we're going to be rehearsing and getting ready for the tour. Los Angeles is always good fun and really amazing architecture as well. San Francisco. unusual places, really. New Orleans is good because the bars are open till 4 o'clock in the morning. Place like Charlotte, North Carolina is really beautiful. You know, I like kind of architecture and history, so some of the kind of, you know, Charlotte's really amazing down there. Yeah, where else? I'm trying to think on my feet here. Seattle and Portland up the north. Chicago's really good. Cool city. You know, New York, of course. I mean, everywhere's got something that in America. It's lots of different countries, your country, really.
Right. I mean, it is crazy. Well, we used to always say, because I grew up near Philadelphia and I lived in L.A. for years, and a lot of us we would never say Florida was part of the East Coast, but like it's South. And we would always say there's the East Coast, there's the West Coast, and who cares about the rest except Chicago and Minneapolis, because Minneapolis has a very hip music scene. Now, you said you're going to New Orleans to rehearse. How long will you guys rehearse before going out on the road? And once you're out on the road, do you rehearse at all, or do you just sit there because you're playing a lot?
No, we're going to Austin, Texas to rehearse. We'll spend 2 days rehearsing there. We'll fly into Austin, Texas. We'll have a day off to get over the jet lag. We'll rehearse for 2 days, and then we play the first concert the next night. We won't rehearse again. Only maybe at sound checks we might rehearse new songs, but we won't go into rehearsal studios because we'll be playing every day. It'd just be too much.
Now, how do you get around when you're on a tour? I mean, is it, you know, do you have a tour bus, or and do you all the bands travel together? How does that work? Because there's a lot of guys.
No, we're travelling in a Mercedes splitter van, just like a black Mercedes van with aircraft seats in it. It's a very fast way of getting around. But the tour buses, I think the Alarm are going on the tour bus. They're taking all the equipment with them, so we won't have any equipment with us at all. We'll just travel 2 venues in this Mercedes van with the guitars in the back.
Well, that's great. That's the thing. I got one more. I have one final question for you. And how did you decide to buy a house in Thailand?
Well, I like heat. I like the sun, and as you know, in the UK we don't get a lot of that. I mean, from about November till March or April, you'd be lucky if you see the sky. So, I just spent some time travelling in Southeast Asia, and I'd been in Thailand. Thailand's quite an easy place to get around. It's not difficult. It's not as hard as somewhere, say, like India. And I decided to buy a plot of land there and spend the winters there if I could. And I did that, you know, while the band wasn't back together. And it cost me something like $50,000 to buy a 3-story house there at the beach.
Wow.
And it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous there, you know. So, you know, you can spend $1 a day on a meal, $1 for a beer. I mean, I save money by going there. It's crazy.
Is it safe?
Oh yeah, very safe. Very safe.
You don't worry.
Safer than London.
You don't. Well, yeah, of course. You don't worry about monsoons or any of the tsunamis or anything like that.
Well, there's always a chance of that. I mean, I don't go there during the monsoon season. I go there in the European winter is not monsoon season. When I leave, the monsoon season starts.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on, Robbie. Now, the tour is going to be great. I'm going to try to make it. I wanted to try to make it to the Philly show, but it's my fiance's birthday on that Monday, so she usually wants to go away for the weekend. But we're getting married in September. We're getting married in the middle of September, so I'm going to say, well, we really can't go away because we're going to, Croatia for our honeymoon. So I'm going to try to make it an Asbury's only an hour from me. They're both close. So the website is modernenglish.me, and you're starting. When does the tour start?
Starts on the 19th of July in Austin, Texas. It's actually better to go to the Facebook page. Modern English Facebook page has got more info, and it carries all the way through till September the 8th, where we finish in St. Petersburg, Florida. So it's a long tour.
Well, but people, I want to thank you for coming on. People, go check out Modern English. Go see them perform. Go to YouTube, watch their old videos. Go find their music, listen to it, and don't forget, they're a great band and they have a lot of iconic. I'm Not With You is an iconic song in our 80s culture. So remember, also go to my website, coopertalk.net. I have over 700 episodes there. You can email me at coopertalk.net. Follow me on Twitter at Cooper Talk. Remember, I'm Steve Cooper. I'm only as hip as my guests. Don't forget, drink your water, eat your vegetables, and take your vitamins, and I'll talk to you guys next time.